The most anticipated camera of 2024 is here, the Fuji X100VI. Even if you've pre-ordered, the majority of us normal people are not going to be seeing this thing for 3 to 6 months. We've all seen the TikTok videos of why the X100V and this new Fuji camera are incredible. However, there are a couple features that I found out about the X100VI that may make this camera the real deal. I'm pretty jazzed that the X100VI has a built-in ND filter. If you're not familiar with what an ND or neutral density filter is, it's essentially just a piece of glass that's a little bit darker that is like sunglasses that fits on the lens of your camera. This is what a typical ND filter looks like, and they go on the end of the lens on your camera, but in this case, the filter is built into the camera body. This is great because filters like this sometimes have some color shift or some vignetting, and built-in NDs are usually reserved for higher-end cameras. In terms of video, this is an awesome feature because you can shoot using proper settings without the need of an accessory like this. And for photo, this means that you can shoot slower shutter photos. My understanding is that the previous X100V also had this built in, but I really don't hear many people talking about it, and I think that it's an incredible feature. Maybe you're like me and you've had absolutely no interest in learning how to use a flash. However, for the past couple years, I keep getting hired to do jobs that require a flash because I'm shooting in a really dark environment, and I've really enjoyed actually learning how to use it and diversify the type of photos that I can take. The annoying thing is that I now have a massive flash like this. It's actually like the same size as my X100V, so having the built-in little flash here is sick. This flash is limited in what it can do versus a big flash like this. This one can twist around and shoot every direction, but it can do 80–90% of what I'm looking for it to do. And having a flash built into a little camera like this opens a whole world of possibilities of different styles of photos that you can shoot. Here's a couple examples of photos shot with flash from my buddy Eddie. He's created a video about shooting with flash on your Fujis, and he's also made a recipe that works really well if you're shooting with the flash. He's the man, go check him out. If you're like me and you bought all kinds of accessories for your X100V, I am stoked that many of these accessories are going to work on the X100VI. Now, this may seem obvious, but there are many camera manufacturers that change where buttons and dials and toggles are when they introduce a new generation of a camera. From what I can see, the body designs are identical except for a few cosmetic changes. I am pumped that this new camera takes the same batteries. I've got a few. Some of the other accessories that I'll be transferring over are the thumb grip and many of the filters that I use on a daily basis. I've got a UV filter, a Pro Mist, and my new favorite filter, the Short Stash and Polar Pro. This filter rules. If you don't have one, I suggest you look into it. It is a quarter strength Pro Mist with a polarizer built in. A couple of my favorite filters all in one. It's insane. Check it out. I think it is still being pre-ordered right now, so put yourself in line if you want to get one. However, I don't always want this on my lens, so that's why I have some other accessories, and I am stoked that I don't need to repurchase everything for this new camera. I am not always a fan of cameras that have more megapixels. More megapixels mean larger SD cards, more storage is needed, and sometimes your computer slows down because it takes more processing power. In the case of the X100VI, the megapixels have increased since the previous version, and I actually really like this change. More megapixels on this camera mean that we can crop into our images and still maintain a high resolution. I love the fact that you can customize the focus ring on this camera to digitally crop into the sensor. Digital cropping isn't a new feature for Fuji cameras, but the fact that you can change your focus ring into a zoom ring is game-changing. I believe this will change your shooting experience and make it feel like you have a couple different focal lengths at your disposal when you're shooting. These images optically won't look the same as if you're shooting on a 50mm or a 70mm, but for somebody like me, I think this may scratch that itch of having that option to have a couple different focal lengths when you're out shooting. Frame.io integration is built directly into this camera, and no accessories are needed to sync your photos and videos to the cloud. Frame.io is very handy to transfer your photos or videos while you're shooting to an editor, a reviewer, or just backup proxies or files while you're shooting. In one of my past workplaces, we used Frame.io to send revisions of videos back and forth between us and an editor, and it's a really great workflow to use. To be honest, I thought Frame.io was used just for videos, but I can see how it would be helpful for photos as well. I'm sure that many of the consumers of the X100VI don't even know what Frame.io is or won't be using it. I likely won't be using it. But many professionals must have been asking for this to be integrated into this camera specifically. I also see that many of the other Fuji cameras also already have this built in. I think this just goes to show that this camera is not just for hobbyists, it is also for professionals, and this thing is pretty deadly and should not be overlooked. For all of these reasons and more, I think this is a really incredible camera, but I don't know if this is the camera for you. If you're interested in seeing a couple reasons of why it may not be, I've created a video right here. Thanks for letting me spill the gravy, and we'll see you in the next one.